Have you ever felt like, man, I'm just so confused? Have you ever felt scattered and trying to figure out what it is that I'm doing? Why is nothing working? Why is everybody moving and I'm not moving? You felt scattered. You don't know what you're doing. You feel like you're all over the place, and people are telling you, oh my God, what are you doing now? And you get that whole look in there, you see that look in their eyes, and they're thinking, what is she doing now? She's doing something different. So I'm here to tell you today that it's okay because you are not scattered. You're just different. You're just different. Hello, my name is Audrey Bell Kearney, and I am different. I am different. And I'm glad to be here with you, my different friends. Recently, I've been an entrepreneur for 29 years, and I have so many ideas. And it used to be a time when I was afraid. It used to be a time when I was afraid to tell people like all the things that I was doing, or all the things that I wanted to do, because I felt like I was scattered. And I felt like people looked at me as though I was scattered. And so I wouldn't say anything to anybody. I would kind of design things and keep them hidden, but not now. So when I discovered that I'm not scattered, I'm just different. And I know there are many of you out there like me who have so many ideas, who want to do so many things, you have such a good heart, you have such a big brain, and you're feeling scattered, and people are telling you you're scattered. Your spouse is telling you you're scattered. Your friends are telling you that you're scattered, but you really aren't scattered. You really aren't scattered. What you are is different. So let's talk about that. Let's break this down. See, here's the problem for us, the people like you and I. We have been conditioned that we got to pick one thing, stay in one lane. We got to get one job, one husband, one car, one house. That's how we've been conditioned to that. So in our mind, we're trying to fit into this box of conditioning that we really can't fit into, right? That's why entrepreneurship for a lot of us is exciting, but it could be draining at the same time, especially if the people around us, they think linear. They don't think like us. They don't think outside of the box. They don't think past their 9 to 5. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that that's not how we roll. That's not how we're built. We're not built that way. You're not built like that. You're not built to be in a box. You're not built to, focus on one thing all the time. We're just not built like that. And I think when you think about it, it drains us. It drains the energy out of us. When I can't create something, I feel sick, right? And it's crazy. I was telling one of my friends the other day, I said, man, I feel like somebody who's addicted to something, right? Because when I'm creating, I feel great. Like now that I'm doing this video, I feel great because I get to create, I get to show up, I get to say things. I feel great. But when you can't do that as a creative person, that person who's multi passionate, when you can't do that, it takes away from your authenticity. It takes away from who you are as a person because you're trying to fit yourself into this box. So, I wanted to come by today and just tell you, when I started Betterish, I was thinking about myself, right? I was thinking about me and the person that I am. Here's a story. I've been an entrepreneur for 29 years. 29 years. I've been doing media for 27 of those years. And I have always, once God opened up my eyes to all that I could be, once he showed me what my real gifts were, I never stopped. I kept going. I kept going. I've created so many things, y'all. I'm an inventor. I invented the first plus size fashion doll. I've written 13 books. I started a streaming channel back when nobody else was doing. I had a streaming app back in 2013 on Roku when nobody else was doing it. When Amazon first came out with Fire TV, I had a streaming app on Amazon. So I've been doing all of this stuff for years. And it's only been like the last probably year or so that I felt like, you know what, I want to embrace who I am because I have been hiding who I am from the world because I felt like people were going to judge me. Now, here's what I realized at my grand old age of 58. Yes, I'm 58. I got a birthday in 3 weeks. At this grand old age of 58, they're going to judge me anyway. So how about letting them judge me for who I really am, not for what I'm trying to show up to be? Let me say that again. They can judge me, but they're gonna judge me based on who I really am, and not what I'm thinking I'm supposed to show up to be. So I'm not gonna show up to be who I'm not anymore. That was just a decision I made. I'm multifaceted. Facet. I'm multi-passionate. I talk fast. I think about a whole lot of things. I create a lot of stuff. I learn easily. I share what I want. I share with people. I teach people. I've been coaching people since 2005. As a matter of fact, I forgot to say this. I am the president of the the president of the Gwinnett Women's Chamber of Commerce here in Gwinnett, Georgia. And so again, I get to share who I am with the women who are trying to come up, who feel like they're left out because of that. Now I want to talk to you today. I want to share with you what I'm doing to make my life better, to be my authentic self, to show up as me every day, not show up because somebody, not show up because I feel like I should show up behind a title that's really not me. So this is what I decided this year. Well, in the last year, 2025. I decided that I'm multi passionate. I decided that I wanted to show up as myself. What I did was I took everything off the table that just did not fit who I was. I don't care what it was. If it did not fit Audrey, then I was not trying to do it. And that's a little scary sometimes because sometimes that means you have to get rid of some clients. And I had to do that. I had to get rid of some clients, but I just I could not do things that I didn't like anymore for money, for titles, things like that. So I got rid of those things. And when I tell you I feel so much lighter, I feel so much better about my life. I feel so much better about where I'm going. And I want you to feel the same way. I want you to think about this for a second. Just stop for a second. Who are you? Who do you want to become? What is it that you love, right? I love creating things. I love creating content. I love creating apps. Oh my God. AI has come on the scene. I think I probably at this point have created 20, 25 apps because that it gives me so much joy to create. Now I tried to turn some of them into businesses. They weren't meant to be businesses for me. They're probably meant to be businesses for somebody else. So they're just sitting in my app account doing nothing. But when I was making them, I felt energized. I felt like free. I felt like I was doing something great. And I was. And for somebody one day, somebody can probably buy them from me and do something with them. But that's what I've done. So I need you to think about who you are, who you want to be, right? You can't worry about what people say. They're gonna talk about you anyway. That's just they are. Like somebody's gonna come in this video and they're gonna say, you should focus, you're all over the place. And I get it. Say that if you may, but I'm not accepting that. As a matter of fact, I'm not even putting that out in the universe. I take that back. Nobody's gonna come in here and say that to me, right? Um, and I want you to stop living in fear. Stop living in fear that people are going to judge you because people will judge you, but they're going to do that anyway. So why not let them judge you based on who you really are? They're going to say things that may hurt your feelings, right? And that's okay too because some people just that's just how they are. They don't have anything else better to do than to try to make you feel bad about who you are, and at the same time they're not really being who they are, right? So I want you to think about yourself. I want you to think about what you want to do. I want you to think about the things that bring you joy. And I get it. There'll be some people say you need to focus on one thing until you make it happen. I understand that. And for most people that could work. But for people like you and I, that doesn't work because we're unhappy. We want to do other things. We're multi-passionate. It just doesn't work for us, you know. And when you put yourself in this box, you just make yourself miserable. Trust me, there are a lot of people out there like us. A lot. They're afraid. They're living in silence because they don't want people to judge them. They're miserable because they're doing things that they just don't like. They're miserable because they feel like I'm gonna fail because I'm doing this thing and it looked like it's crazy to the world. Listen, when I started my first company, and I should have brought the doll on, I was sitting at work, hated my job. I hated that job. I was sitting at work and I'm sitting there. All of a sudden, I get this big idea just out of nowhere about a plus size fashion doll, right? So I'm just sitting there thinking a plus size fashion doll, right? Why would God give me that idea? So when I got off work that day, I called my friend. I said, "Hey, and this is like my exact words to her. Have you ever seen a fat fashion doll?" And she said, "Well, no." She said, "But I just want to know, can I be the vice president?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." What I did not know at the time was that she was a doll collector. I didn't know that, and we have been friends for a long time. And I didn't know she was a doll collector. She had just purchased a doll that she paid $250 for. So she invited me to stop by her house to see the doll, right? And I stopped by and I saw the doll. The doll was beautiful. It was a Mattel doll. I think the designer was his name was Byron Lars. He was a designer for Mattel, and she was a doll collector. So she collected all these Barbies that Mattel made. So when I saw that doll and I saw that she had paid $250 for a doll, I was like, oh my God, we're gonna be rich, right? But here's the thing, I had to take the idea that was in my head out and make it into a product. And we did that. She became the vice president of our company, Big Beautiful Dolls. And we took what was in my head and we put it on paper. Then we put it in clay. Then we put it in hard wax. Then we sent it to China. Then China put it in vinyl. Then China sent it back to us and we sold it. That was the process. I never set foot on China ground. But remember, let me tell you this, when I was talking about doing that business, people's like, nobody's want to buy a fat doll. I mean, who wants to buy that kind of doll? You know, we had an investment meeting and everybody was so excited about investing in a company except for one person. The investment club, it was a black women investment club. They were so excited. I got there early. I had my presentation ready, but there was one person who was late. She was late to the meeting. And I mean, like probably about an hour late, but I got a chance to talk to everybody, to talk about where the idea came from, how it got out of my head, how we got it into like this, into doll format. Because we were trying to raise money to get the dolls manufactured. We had sent it to Hong Kong. They had sent us back our samples. We were ready to go. And this one lady that was part of the investment club was late. She comes to the investment meeting and she sits there and she's looking like this. And I'm thinking, what's wrong with her? She's having a bad day, right? So finally, her sister said to her, "What's the matter?" She's like, "I don't want to buy no. I don't want to invest in a fat doll. I'm fat. Why would I want to invest in a fat doll?" And I'm looking like, what? So when she said that, she killed the deal. When I talked to the investment club like the next week, because I was like, okay, maybe they will. They were like, yeah, we decided to go into in a different direction. I was like, oh my gosh, she killed the deal because in her mind, nobody would want that. Totally untrue. We totally sold out of our dolls. We ran that company for 5 years. And people still to this day ask us about the dolls. And, I think about doing them again, but things were different back then when we were manufactured in China. China was not the China it is right now. So things were different. We didn't have all these high tariffs and all this kind of craziness going on. So it's a little bit different now to try to get the dolls done. Although people ask about them, we ran the company for 5 years, 5.5 years before we dissolved it, and we went on to do something else. So from that point on, after being in the media and magazines and TVs, I started coaching women in business. I started coaching women, and I'm so good at helping other people get clear, right? And it's probably because my brain has a lot of stuff going on all the time. I'm so good at helping people get clear, but when it was my turn to help myself get clear, that was a problem. I always say that my most focused time was when I started the doll company because at that time I had not really been into entrepreneurship. Like I had sold Avon, but I didn't have a leader tell me like how to grow this into a business, right? I didn't have that. So I didn't have coaching and all that stuff. It wasn't until I started that doll company and spent the year on Wall Street trying to raise money that I understood that this is my first real business. This is a business for me, right? It's my real business. And I ran with it, but I was focused. I was real focused. After the dog company dissolved, oh my God, my brain just opened up and everything was possible. Everything was possible at that point. Like there was nothing I couldn't do. So I tried to do everything because my God had opened up my brain so much to see like I could close my eyes. You could talk to me, say I got an idea for a shoe, right? And I need the shoe to do this. By the time you have finished, my brain has worked out an entire plan for that shoe. I talk to my daughter, and I have one daughter and one granddaughter. And whenever she comes to me with an idea, she'll say to me, I don't want you to tell me all that stuff. I want you to tell me all that stuff. I'm just telling you what I'm doing. And I say, okay, because that's how my mind works. My mind works in pictures and is ready to like create this whole thing for you. So I used to think I was scattered after that. I used to think I couldn't focus. Nothing was clicking. I wasn't making the type of money I wanted to make. I wanted to be a millionaire, not just, I wanted to be a millionaire so I could do things, help people, create venture funds. Like that was my thing. And now this year I'm going to hit that and I'm going to create a venture fund, right? I don't know, I might call it a cute name, like Scattered Venture Fund for the scattered people. But I'm going to create that venture fund that because that's my dream. That's my big dream right now is to start a venture fund. But up until that point, after the doll company, I thought I was all over the place. I thought I was scattered, and I was scattered, right? But what was happening was I was embarrassed about being scattered. I was embarrassed about who I was. I felt ashamed. I didn't want to talk to my husband about it because I felt like when he met me, I was focused. And the reason we got together was because he was supposed to be an investor in my business. And so that's how I met him. So, but I was focused. He could see like the path to the success, right? And we did that for 5 years. And once the dog company dissolved, I was somebody else. I was this other person and he didn't know. I didn't know because God just opened up the floodgates of ideas. And that for the next probably 20 years, I felt like I was all over the place. So I don't feel that way now. And I don't want you to feel that way. I want you to understand that you're not scattered. You're just different. And it's not different in a bad way. It's different in the way that God made you. I want you to sit back this weekend, take some time and just think about your life. And if you can see my office right now, it's not bad. It's not bad, right? But I have resin, resin, like you make resin things, resin. I have decoupage glue. I have I have boxing gloves. I have boxing gloves. I have uh, a mug press. I have a plate press. I have a t-shirt press. I have a button press. I have a license tag maker. Listen, because I like art. Now I can't draw a straight line, but these are the things I like. So whenever I decide I want to do something, everything is right here for me to do. I have it organized, but I have it all. I have heat guns, I have glue guns, I have it all because whenever I feel like I want to do something, I'm not apologizing for that. I'm not feeling guilty about it. And I don't want you to feel guilty about it. If you want to make some resin art today and you have the means to make the resin art, you may never do anything with it, but it made you feel good in that moment, right? It made you feel good to create something new. It's pretty. You could touch it. Whenever I want to write a book about something, I just write a book. I mean, I was thinking this one, I should create a journal. Now, mind you, I've published so many journals for other people. So many. I've never published a journal for myself. That's not true. That's not true. I published a podcast journal about 4 years ago. It's on Amazon. It's a podcast journal, but like a regular everyday journal, I've never done that. And I woke up this morning thinking I should create a journal, right? Because I've never created a life journal. Podcast journal, yes. Life journal, no. And guess what? If I keep my mind on it and I want to do it, I'm gonna do it. And I may put it on Amazon, and I may not ever sell any. But here's the thing: it made me feel good in the moment while I was creating it. Right now, some people say, well, how the heck do you make money, Audrey, if you're all over the place? Well, people come to me because I'm all over the place. I help them write books. I help them build websites. I can create apps. So anytime somebody comes to me for something, I could probably do it. So that's how I stay going. And I do a lot of consulting. I consult with people who they're trying to figure it out. They're trying to figure out, what am I good at, Audrey? What should I be doing? What can I do? I'm afraid of tech. I don't know how to write. I don't know how to cook. I want to start this catering business. So I've done so many things. I've studied so much stuff about entrepreneurship. So that's how I make my money. I'm consulting and creating things for other people who can't listen. I have a client. I tell her all the time, there's a thing called Canva, right? And she's like, I don't feel like doing all of that. I've been creating flyers for her for about like 5 years. And Canva has been around all of those years. And I say to her, and she pays me. I say to her, you do know that there's Canva, right? Now, mind you, that's taking money out of my pocket, but it doesn't matter because she doesn't want to do that. So she comes to me and I make a flyer for her. That's how that goes. So, and then it takes me no time because I have become an expert at doing Canva, right? Because I've been on Canva since it started. Now I create apps for people, web apps, right? I created apps in Lovable for people. Lovable is an AI vibe coding platform, and somebody comes and says, "I need something," and I'll sit there and I say, "Okay, let's run through what you're trying to accomplish," and then I can create it. Why? Because I've created 25 of my own, and I have a whole bundle that's on my Good Morning Gwinnett website for people who are in business and they just want to buy a bundle of apps that's already made. They don't have to think about it. They just pay $97 and buy them. That's the kind of stuff but it brings me joy. I want you to find what brings you joy. I want you to stop apologizing for that. I want you to stop being afraid of that. I want you to stop feeling embarrassed because of you are a multi-passionate person. You're just who you are. And that's what I'm embracing. So Betterish is my new channel. And you might see me pop up and talk about anything. Why? Because I'm scattered. I might talk about food today because Maybe not, but maybe because, hey, listen, I might be drinking mushroom coffee today and I want to talk about it. Or I might be talking about crabs because I love crabs. So I may be talking about business because I love business. I may be talking about AI because I love all of that stuff. I'm intrigued by AI. I'm intrigued by space. I'm intrigued by history. You may see anything on this channel, anything. But here's the thing, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. If you feel like you can learn from me, if you feel like I can inspire you, if you feel like, this is your place, this is your place. If you feel like that's my girl, I'm your girl. If you feel like, I ain't scattered, I'm just different than you are. So I invite you to subscribe to the channel and share with a couple of friends. You got a couple of friends like us, share with your friends, all right? I'll be back again. Next time we'll talk about something different. I don't know what it's going to be about. It just depends on what I feel like talking about at the time. That's all. But here's the thing, I'm going to always try to bring you wisdom and truth. I can promise you that. Whether it be in business or life, wisdom and truth. And check out my songs. I got a lot of Listen, I love music, so I make a lot of music on Suno. I'm sorry, real artists out there. I get it, but I love making music too. I can't sing like you. I can't play the piano like you. I can't play the guitar like you, but I love making music. So Suno, which is an AI tool, allows me to make all the beautiful music you hear on this channel, and I love it. So check out the music, subscribe to the channel. I'll be back again probably sometime this week. I don't know. Just subscribe so you never miss. Hit the notification button. That way you never miss me when I come on, right? And if you got a question for me, leave it in the comment order. I got a question, and I'll be happy to answer your question. I'll be happy to answer your questions. I'll be happy to share any advice. I'll be happy to share what I've done in life. And I got a good story for you guys. I got to tell you about the day I lost my memory. I'll talk about that in the next video. All right. So listen, you guys stay safe out there. And until next time, my friends, until next time, make it a great day. Bye, everybody.